Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cool Sports Guy. I'm Tom. Joining me today is Jarrett with the little Christmas spirit going on there. How you doing there, everybody?
Doing pretty good, pretty good.
All right. It's good to be back. It's been a minute.
Yeah, football hasn't been the most pleasant for the past 2 months when the Bears haven't won a single game, but we move along.
I think you meant a few years there.
No, we
But-
flat out haven't won in 2 months. It's been awful. So our last win was that Monday night against New England, and then it's just been losses. But Fields is good, so that's all that matters.
Yeah. That's hopefully not another career just wasted along. So we'll see. All right, so we're gonna jump right into it. We got a couple of topics to talk about. So we are almost at the playoffs. We got 3 more weeks of football left. Some of the teams that we thought were gonna make it to the Super Bowl are officially eliminated. Rams. And then some of them aren't looking very good.
Okay, Jose also picked the Broncos, who are eliminated, so it makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Jose picked the Broncos to win the Super Bowl, and then every week when we did our pick, almost every week he bet against the Broncos.
I don't remember a single time he picked the Broncos.
So yeah, it was a win-lose situation either way for him. So anyway, we got a couple of things, and we'll jump right into it. So before we take this off, check out our website, coolsportsguy.com, our Instagram, our Twitter, and our Facebook page. And let's see what we got on the docket today. All right, so here we go. Week 16. Man, we're at week 16. Remember when there was only 17 weeks of football?
Yeah, it's pretty bizarre. There's talking about adding another week on top of it too, which is insane.
That's pretty crazy. That's a lot. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's not a lot.
They were gonna do 18 games, but 2 bye weeks or something. I still feel like that's just too much. We don't need to keep adding games.
18 games, but then 2 bye weeks, so it's 20-week regular season.
Yeah, I feel like it's a little much. I don't.
That's a lot. 20 weeks is literally from the start of the season to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's a little much.
Well, 21 weeks, I guess. I don't know, but yeah, we'll see. All right. Anyway, let's see what we got. All right, so NFC playoff picture. So we're gonna talk about teams that are in the hunt and to see who has the potential and / who we kind of want to see and hope make it in there. So let's see. Playoff picture for NFC right now. Eagles 13-1. They will more than likely, I think, one more win and they'll clinch the number 1 seed.
I think
they will.
Yes.
They will clinch the division with one more win, I believe.
Or yeah, they have. I think
they already clinched it. They already clinched it. I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, I think if they lose 3 in a row and the Vikings win 3 in a row, like the last 3, then the Vikings would have the number 1 seed. But that's the only situation. If they end with the same record, then the Eagles have the tiebreaker. Yeah. So it's almost guaranteed the Eagles locked up the number 1 seed.
This lineup, for the most part, aside from now, I think Eagles are they just got to win one more game and they will have the number 1 seed and the division in their pocket. The Vikings are more than likely going to be the number 2 seed unless the 49ers win 2 more games. And, the Vikings don't. They're only a game behind. But as far as division winners, I think we can almost guarantee this right here. Except, I don't know, Buccaneers, 2 games or 1 game ahead. They had all the chances in the world last week to be 2 games ahead. We're not going to get into that right now. It's, oh man. Cowboys are a very good wildcard team. The Cowboys actually remind me a little bit of the Buccaneers in 2020 season, where they're the wildcard team, but they won 11 games. And this is when they had 16 games, so it was 11-5. Cowboys are probably going to end at, I don't know, 12-4, 12-5 this season, give or take. Giants, disappointment the last few weeks. Except for the Commanders win, of course, but
yeah, I'm not gonna go out there and be like, oh, I called this or anything, but I did think when we started off the season at week, I think it was week 7 or 8, when people are like, oh, the Giants and Jets are both really, really good teams this year. They both have great records. I was like, I'm not saying they're bad, but they're definitely not as good as their record shows. I think the Giants are better than the Jets because I'm not even saying Daniel Jones is a good quarterback, but the quarterback play of Daniel Jones compared to Zach Wilson is insanely better, which is the most bizarre thing to say. Zach Wilson has been that bad. Mike White, I think, is more on par with Daniel Jones, but Mike White is injured. But both poor quarterback play, which is one of the reasons how you had mentioned we want to see who we want to be in the playoffs. In the perfect world, to get the best playoff matchups, I want the Giants definitely to fall out of the playoffs. And the Commanders, I'm not sure. Maybe I'd probably flip Giants and Commanders for Lions Seahawks in the perfect world for like the best playoff matchups. The
Yeah.
Commanders I really like because I think they have one of the best defensive lines in football. Jonathan Allen, future Chicago Bears are on Payne. Chase Young is going to come back, which I'm kind of worried Chase Young is going to take a step back because that injury has lasted a very, very long time. And there's been so many setbacks that it's bizarre he hasn't played yet. And then Montez Sweat's not bad either. They have a very, very solid defense when it comes to stopping the run and honestly their pass rush. But that offense, Taylor Heineke, I kind of was texting Tom and Jose about this last week. He's not a bad quarterback. He's just an ideal game manager who doesn't straight up lose you games most of the time. But he's never going to be like a guy who's going to go into the playoffs and, play at an elite level and make a Super Bowl run. That's just not the kind of quarterback he is.
Yeah. No. Well, I mean, I disagreed with you on the text, so
Which
a little bit. He's not gonna make the Super Bowl.
Which again, he's a good game manager, and I think he's definitely the best fit for the Commanders, like that's on their roster. But he's not going to make a deep playoff run, which I know it's bizarre to say, but I think Geno Smith honestly could this season, just based on the fact that Geno Smith, watching just the film, just on this year, has been playing he kind of slowed down the last few weeks, but was playing at like a top 10, top 5 even level at quarterback. As for the Lions, I think their defense is what is lacking, but they do have a lot of young pieces who have gotten better as the year has progressed. But their offense is the reason they've been so good. Jared Goff is playing like the number one pick that
Yo,
he
what
was
the
supposed to
heck?
be.
I talk so much crap about that, man.
Well, yeah, in our quarterback ranking things, I had him in like the 20s, and I think I had him in like the low 20s. And I was like, he's just an average guy. You're never going to get anything more than that. And he's played at a really, really high level this year.
I am listening. I promise. I'm also taking down some notes as you're talking too. That's why. Yeah. Okay. So here's the thing. You said in a perfect world, if it's up to you, you would flip Giants, Commanders, and put Seahawks and Lions in there.
Yes.
Cool. But what do you think it's gonna be?
I think I should have probably looked at what their schedule is looking like coming up.
Yeah.
But
so you want to hear something funny?
Sure.
I think the Giants, there's a potential chance with the Giants, Commanders, the Seahawks, the Lions, all 4 teams. Well, 3 of the 4 teams could take a loss this week. The Giants play the Vikings.
Okay. Yeah.
The Commanders play the 49ers.
Yeah.
The Packers, the Seahawks play the Chiefs. And the Lions play the Panthers.
Okay, so
and the Packers play the Dolphins, by the way, in case you want to go deep.
Okay, the Packers, I don't think are a playoff team. If they're a playoff team, they're a first round bounce. Like their defense, which going into the season, I had mentioned, I was like, this is one of the best defenses Aaron Rodgers has ever played with, and I thought that was what's going to keep them afloat and carry them to a playoff team. Their defense has been very underwhelming. Aaron Rodgers he hasn't been awful this year, but he definitely hasn't played up to his elite Aaron Rodgers standards that we're all used to. So I wouldn't consider them a threat at this point. I think, maybe if they get on a hot streak, I could see something happening, but I don't consider them a threat.
Here's something to take into consideration with the Giants is that they are if you look at the Giants and Seahawks, Giants have won 8 games, Seahawks have won 7, but technically the Seahawks are a game and a half behind the Giants because both Giants and Commanders have a tie.
I think so. My perfect world I already mentioned. I think what's actually going to happen The Lions started off 1-6, and they are currently 7-7. So they've been on quite the hot streak. I think with them playing Carolina, that's going to continue. So I do think the Lions will make the playoffs, and I know they're a division rival, but that makes me so happy.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, 100%.
I get they're rivals, and I'm supposed to hate them, and like, oh, I hope they don't make the playoffs. But like, I'm also a person with emotions and empathy, and the Lions have they don't have they're very on par with the Bears, where we have not made the playoffs that much in the last decade. And I like to see the Lions compete, and they have a good young team. Their fan base needs some success, and I'm happy to see them make the playoffs. I do think the Lions will. I think it'll probably be like the Commanders switch with the Lions and the Seahawks just miss out. Would probably be my guess, and then the Giants stick with the 6th or 7th seed.
I think the Commanders and the Seahawks will miss out, and I think the Lions will make it in, because this coming week, Lions will be at 8 wins, which would, and well, again, this is assuming my assumptions right. I think the Lions are going to beat the Panthers, which will put them at 8-7. And the Commanders, who is potentially going to lose to, who did I say? The 49ers are going to be at 7-1, which means the Lions now have a better record, which means the Lions will take the 7th seed spot. Commanders will be dropped down. The Giants, who even if they lose, they're going to hold on to that spot they have, because again, they have that half game win over the Seahawks. Even if they lose and the Seahawks win, the Seahawks, who's playing the Chiefs, where I don't see a scenario where the Chiefs are going to lose, especially considering the Chiefs are hoping Buffalo loses to Bengals next week coming up, not for week 16, but week 17, which will make the Buffalo Bills the 3rd seed, probably make the Bengals the 2nd seed, and the Chiefs, as long as they go undefeated and the Buffalo loses a game, they're going to get the number 1 seed, and they're going to get the bye week. So I could see a scenario where Seahawks are going to lose, Lions are going to win, Commanders are going to lose, which means Lions are going to take that spot. And here's the thing. I think that's going to be the thing. Me, obviously, being a Brady fan, I still believe the Bucs are going to win the division. They're going to make the playoffs. Vikings and 49ers may flip. Aside from that right there is pretty much your playoff picture. And the Packers, there's a potential chance they're going to win out the rest of the season, the way they're starting to pick up and the better they're starting to play, maybe. But even if they do, I think with how behind they are, they're currently 2 games behind the Giants. Well, 2.5, right? So the Giants just got to win 2 more games if they figure that out. And that's going to be your NFC playoff picture. But yeah, in a perfect world, listen, as much as I was rooting for the Giants and I was happy for the Giants as much as they were winning, exciting teams to watch, Seahawks and the Lions are both more exciting to watch than Giants and Cowboys. I'll give you that.
It's going to suck if the Seahawks miss the playoffs, because they were kind of like the Cinderella story of the year. I guess it's kind of been taken over. The Lions are now the Cinderella story of the year. But I like the Seahawks, and I think they'll still stick with Geno next year, even if they miss the playoffs. But I could also, I'm worried that someone in management's like, oh, we didn't make the playoffs. He's like 32. Let's draft a young guy, because they do have an early pick from the Broncos. I think as of now it sits at number 3 overall. Number 1, the Texans are taking a quarterback. That's without a doubt. Number 2, the Bears aren't going to take a quarterback. They may trade out, and then that team would take a quarterback. They have it like a prime position to take, probably either CJ Stroud or Will Levis. So they could go the quarterback route. I don't know. I hope they don't. I really like Geno Smith. The whole they wrote me off, I didn't write back is my favorite quote in sports history to this day.
Well, the whole wrote me off, I didn't write back was looking real good about 4 weeks ago.
Well, I mean, he said that week 1 when they beat the Broncos, wasn't it?
Was that?
Wasn't it week 1?
Yeah, probably. I'm just saying, like, he was looking real good up until like 3-4 weeks ago. They flew to Germany, lost that game.
He has slowed down since the Germany game.
Since then it's been jet lag.
He had some bad schnitzel or something. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
But yeah, no, the Buccaneers, their next 3 games are against the Cardinals, who Colt McCoy has been ruled out as well. So they are on their number 3 quarterback, Trace
Is what's his
McSorley.
face not starting at all? Like, is he out for the season?
Who, Kyler Murray?
Yes, thank
He
you.
tore his ACL.
Oh, that's right. He
Yeah.
did. He did. I keep getting him confused with who Debo. Debo got hurt, but he's coming back.
Yeah,
Debo's
Debo's
gonna be
fine.
back for the playoffs. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
No, Kyler Murray's out.
Cool.
Colt McCoy, I don't remember what the injury was. I read it like an
Yeah.
hour before we started, but Colt McCoy was ruled out. So Trace McSorley, the legend himself,
It's gonna be another Brock Purdy.
he's not. Trace McSorley, everyone loves, but he's not good. I don't know if you've ever heard
Mitch Trubisky.
he's probably worse than Mitch. I don't know if you've ever heard the Trace McSorley song. But someone made like a rap for him when he was at Penn State, which after this you need to listen to it because it's actually super catchy. So he's kind of like a meme, like a Mitch Trubisky and Nathan Peterman kind of guy, but he's not a good NFL quarterback. So that's a win without a doubt. Hopefully, then it's the Panthers. They should win that, and the Falcons. They should win that.
Isn't it funny that there's Panthers, Saints, and Falcons all technically in the hunt because any of these teams could win that division?
And they're only a game behind.
Like they are only a game behind the number 4 seed.
If the Saints would have won that game, well, I don't know how it would have worked, but I think they'd have the same record, and the tiebreaker would be split. I don't know what it goes to after that.
The rest of the division record, I believe.
Oh.
So I don't know exactly what the rest of
I think the Buccaneers would probably still be in first then, but it would be,
Well, they only beat the Falcons once. They lost to the Panthers.
Oh. Have the Saints lost to the Falcons, though, I know that.
Yeah, the Saints lost to the Falcons. I think, did they lose both times to the
I think they only lost once.
No, they won. The Saints just beat the Falcons last week.
Yeah, but I don't know.
The funny thing is, if the Falcons would have just beaten the Saints last week, the Falcons would have been 6-8 right now. Same record as the Bucs, and they get a chance to play the Bucs coming up.
Desmond Ridder looked really bad, though.
Epic. Like all 4 of these teams in this division lost last week.
The NFC East, this is what it used to be. It's like, hey, all of these teams are awful. Which one is the least awful to make the playoffs?
Well, you know what the funny thing is? In 2020, I gave the Washington, well, at the time, I think it was a football team, a lot of crap because they made the playoffs with a losing record.
Yeah,
they were. I think they were 7-8 or 7-9, and they made the playoffs. And the Buccaneers, well, I don't know. Maybe they might have a winning record by the time they make it to the playoffs.
The first year I was like a diehard NFL fan, watched like every game of the season was like 2010. Like I watched games before that, but I wasn't as into it till like 2010. And that year, the Week 17 matchup for the NFC West was the rookie Sam Bradford led Rams, and the Seattle Seahawks with Matt Hasselbeck. And it was whoever won that game went to 7-9 and made the playoffs. And the Seahawks won that, and I'm pretty sure that was the year with the Marshawn Lynch run. Was the 7-9 Seahawks?
Was that also the year?
No, that was the year the Saints won the Super Bowl, I think.
Which year was it where they said was it Hasselbeck that said in overtime he said we won the ball and we're gonna win?
That was him against.
And then he
Green
threw
Bay,
a pick six.
Yeah,
literally in the first play of the game.
It was the very
first play of overtime.
Yeah, that was him.
Was that postseason? I think it was that postseason.
It may have been. I think it was earlier than that.
Yeah, it was. You're right.
I want to say that was like 2007 Steelers, or something. I think it was against the
was it
Packers.
A Super Bowl?
No, that was like I don't think it was. I think it was against the Packers.
Oh, then it must have been the playoffs then. Okay.
I'm pretty sure it was against the Packers with like Brett Favre.
Okay. Well, we spent 20 minutes on this, so we gotta.
So yeah, that we wrapped up. We can go to the AFC now.
AFC. All right. Trevor Lawrence. Can I just say that some of the things that are randomly predicted that looked really bad, like my predictions looked really bad in the beginning of the season, is actually not looking terrible right now.
Well, your Jaguars one with like Doug Peterson winning Coach of the Year looked really good, and then it looked awful,
really bad, and
now it looks good again.
And with how many games the Giants are losing, Dougie Beat might still get it, man.
I think
especially if they make the playoffs.
the Jaguars own they like I don't know what the term is. Like their destiny is in their own hands. If they win out, they make the playoffs.
Yep.
And if they make the playoffs, I do think Doug Peterson wins Coach of the Year, and then I don't know, I'll buy you a crown or something. But I also want to point out, I am a Justin Fields fanboy. Everyone knows this. Trevor Lawrence is so good.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew it was going to happen. He was like a generational talent,
Yeah.
but Trevor Lawrence is so good. We had like the whole ranking their draft class, and we both had Fields at
we
1.
messed up.
I don't know if I would go as far to say that Trevor Lawrence is like without a doubt like 1,000 miles better than Fields. I think at this point you could say Trevor Lawrence, and I would not disagree with you. You could say Fields, and I would not disagree with you. I think they're very even. Trevor Lawrence is the better like passer when it comes to like short and medium, like intermediate routes, whatever.
Yeah.
I think Fields is just the better athlete and opens up the game more and then has a better deep ball. But they are both very superb quarterbacks. And I think they are both going to be like, two of the future of the NFL kind of guys.
Well, I just hope Justin Fields gets the same help Trevor Lawrence is finally starting to get.
Yeah, I hope so too. Like, I think Lawrence, don't get me wrong, does not have an elite supporting cast, and he does a ton with very little. But
he also has an amazing coach.
I love Doug Peterson.
Doug Peterson is awesome.
I like because I don't have a problem with the Bears coaching staff. I think they're also very solid. But Doug Peterson is a great quarterback coach, quarterback whisperer, if you want to say it that way. But he has a good coach to help him. He has a good offensive line. His weapons aren't bad. At this point, Fields our top 3. No, it was our number 1, 2, 3, and 5 receivers were all out for this last game against the Eagles, and Justin Fields had the highest quarterback rating of any quarterback against the Eagles this season. So, round of applause for my boy. But Trevor Lawrence does a lot with little, and I think that he is superb. I want to see both of them get that kind of like elite number 1 receiver, and I think they'll both take a huge step next year and be in that MVP conversation, honestly.
By the way, Doug Peterson with Jaguars beating the Dallas Cowboys helped the Philadelphia Eagles, his previous team, win the division.
Yeah.
Fun fact. Anyway, let's jump right into this. So in the hunt, we got Patriots, Jets, and Jaguars, Raiders, Browns. God, I hope the Steelers. No, they're not making it in. Listen, AFC as of right now, like I said, Bills and Chiefs 11-3. Chiefs is behind the Bills because the Bills beat the Chiefs in a regular season game. Bengals are 10-4. Titans are 7-7. Ravens 9-5. Chargers 8-6. Dolphins 8-6. Here's the thing: if the Bills lose to the Bengals 2 weeks from now, assuming every other game is a win between the Bills, Chiefs, and Bengals, Chiefs will take the number 1 seed. Bengals at that point will take the number 2 seed, and the Bills will take the number 3 seed because of the head-to-head matchup. If the Bills win, then obviously Bills will stay where they're at, and this whole thing will kind of pretty much for the most part stay where it's at. I will say this: did not predict the Bengals to even make the playoffs, and I was looking really good about that too. And then I didn't. But either way, the Titans, like you said, Jaguars, if they win out, they're going to win that division. They're going to make the playoffs. Titans will be out, or, more than likely. Dolphins, Chargers, Ravens. So Lamar's out. Is he supposed to be back soon?
I'm not sure. I think he'll be back within the next couple weeks, because I don't think it's he wasn't put on IR, so he should be back in the next couple weeks.
Chargers are finally playing to their potential. I could see Chargers for sure making the wild card spot. Dolphins can, but they do need to beat the Packers this week, because the Packers are hungry. They're trying to win out. The Dolphins are starting to look like they're partially on the decline a little bit after having kind of a hot start. The Jets, listen, as good as they did, I hope not. I'm okay with them just finishing out the year like an 8-9 and just calling it a day. Patriots play such boring football, which I kind of like. I like those defensive games, but I don't know. Watching their offense right now makes me sad. It's pathetic to watch. So hopefully the Patriots doesn't make it either. In a perfect world for me, I would replace the Dolphins. Well, in a perfect world, Jaguars will take Titans' spot. Titans will be out. I'm okay with the Ravens and the Chargers in it. I would replace the Dolphins with the Raiders, though, to be honest.
That is interesting.
I want to see the Raiders. They're not gonna get in. Listen, let's face it. They are 6-8. They one more game, they will be eliminated. Like there's 3 games for them to basically win out and basically hope that some of these teams just basically lose out. So I don't see a scenario where it happens. But in a perfect world, man, I would have loved it. And how are the Colts still in the hunt? Oh, it's because of the division.
And it's because of the tie too. If they're okay, so what has to happen? The Colts have to win out. The Titans have to lose out, and the Jaguars have to lose the next 2 weeks, but then beat the Titans week 18.
That's so complicated.
Yeah, that's the only scenario where the Colts make it. But for my dream scenario, as much as I'd like to see the Raiders in it, I cannot take the Dolphins out. I want to see the Dolphins in the playoff. I watched them when they played the Bears. Their offense is so much fun to watch. With Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle.
Raiders offense.
It's not close. I love the Raiders. I love Derek Carr. But
I think it's my Derek Carr love bias.
Yeah, that's why I want the Raiders to make the playoffs. In my dream world, I'd have the Raiders make the playoffs over, like, I don't know, they invade the AFC South and make it over the Titans. But I can't. I like the Raiders because I love Derek Carr and I want him to stay as their quarterback, and I think that making the playoffs would help with that. But the Dolphins are so fun to watch. Like, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill are so explosive. Gesicki's not a bad tight end. Tua's had a really good year. Their offensive line is solid, when they're healthy. And their defense isn't half bad either. And Mike McDaniels is a great coach. He's a great offensive mind. I want to see the Dolphins in there. The Chargers, I want Herbert to make the playoffs so people will shut up and stop saying he's a bad quarterback because he hasn't made the playoffs. Herbert is a top 3 quarterback, and it's not even close. But people are like, oh, he can't be top 10 because he hasn't made the playoffs yet, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Wins are not a quarterback stat, and people saying quarterbacks aren't good because they lose games is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
So I agree that wins are not a quarterback stat. I fully agree with everything you're saying. But 9 out of 10 times, especially when you get into the playoffs or you're fighting to get into a playoff spot, if you don't have, it's extremely rare if you don't have a good quarterback, you can't do it. Like 49ers is the exception here, right? But aside from that, like Jacksonville right now, if Trevor Lawrence goes out, what's the chance of them winning out? Titans, again, like, okay, that's a bad example because the division sucks. If Josh Allen goes out right now, Bills are done. If Patrick Mahomes goes out, Chiefs are done. If Joe Burrow goes out, Bengals are done. Right? Ravens aren't looking so hot right now because Lamar Jackson is not there. If Justin Herbert goes out, what does the Chargers look like?
They're done.
Yeah. Tua can go out, and I don't know, somebody will still throw the ball to Tyreek 5 yards down the field, I'm sure. But
I don't know. When they went to their backup, that's when they had that. They looked awful when they had the Skylar Thompson playing quarterback.
Proves my point more.
But no, what I'm saying is, like, wins aren't a quarterback stat because, like, a quarterback can be elite, and yes, it definitely helps your team win more.
Oh, I agree with that. I mean,
but that's what my argument is. Think Chicago. We have 3 wins right now, but our offense is putting up like 30 plus points a game almost every week because Fields has been playing at an elite level recently. But we are an awful team because our defense allows 40 points every week. The Jaguars, I think if they had a better team around Trevor Lawrence, you would be talking about them as like the easy division winners. The Titans have a bad quarterback. That's why I don't want them to make the playoffs, because once you get into the playoffs, quarterback play matters even more.
Yes, done.
It's exactly last year. They had the first round bye because they're the number 1 seed. The Bengals come to town. They sacked Joe Burrow like 10 times and lost because their offense couldn't do anything because Ryan Tannehill is not a good quarterback.
Just
and once you get to the playoffs,
times.
You get
maybe
exposed.
The 10th sack would have made the Bengals lose that game.
You get exposed more whenever you're in the playoffs with a good quarterback. And okay, Bills, Josh Allen, elite quarterback. Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, elite quarterback. Bengals, Joe Burrow, I'd say he's an elite quarterback. Ravens, Lamar Jackson, borderline elite quarterback. Chargers, Justin Herbert, elite quarterback. Dolphins, Tua, he's at that borderline elite quarterback. The one exception is the Titans. Ryan Tannehill has no hope in the playoffs because he is not even a good quarterback. That's why.
Essentially, 1 out of every 8 teams, there's that one team that's making the playoffs without a good quarterback.
Yeah. Listen, if the Jaguars make it over the Titans, God, I'm not saying Trevor Lawrence is an elite quarterback yet. I do think he will get there. Next season, I'm going to say he's going to be elite quarterback. Without a doubt. They're going to build around him.
He's going to get there.
But he's at least good enough to like make them a threat in the playoffs. The Titans are not. They don't have I love Derrick Henry, and he is an elite running back without a doubt, and he carries that team. But once you get to the playoffs, you can't have a roster built that if you're losing by like say 10 points in the fourth quarter, you can't pass the ball because your quarterback's not good. You just can't do that. That's why the Titans are set up to fail. The Jaguars, they showed you against Dallas, who's one of the better teams in football, and I think they are an actual Super Bowl threat. They came back late in that game, and Trevor Lawrence played out of his mind, and it was insane.
That's why people like the reality of teams coming back is it's not just because it's easy to say, well, why were they behind to begin with? If they would have played good from the beginning, it's like, no, they were probably trying things, but when you're behind, you need to throw. That's why oftentimes QBs get a lot of credit for comeback wins, because when you're behind, you can't just keep running the ball. You have to say, hey man, stand back, stand in the pocket, or run around and make plays. And yeah, I fully agree with you. If Titans fall behind, they are probably screwed, but that's not necessarily Chiefs. They could be 2 scores down with 45 seconds on the clock. I am still nervous if I'm rooting against them. That's just how it goes. Bills, yeah, I'm not super scared if they fall behind. Same with the Bengals. They were just down 17 points last week. I mean, granted, now the Bengals didn't win that game as much as the Bucs lost that. Well, Tom Brady lost that game. But yeah, you got to when you're behind, you got to throw the football, and QB's got to win. QB's got to throw.
Yeah, but I think the only maybe switch that's going to happen within these games is the Jaguars making it over the Titans. I think everything else is pretty much locked in. I don't want the Patriots to make it because I do think they are a bad team, and Mac Jones is not a good quarterback, and that's another team that if they make the playoffs are going to get curb stomped in the first round like they did last year.
I'm not ready to say Mac Jones is not a good quarterback.
I'd say
Jones,
he's an
the
average
fact that he's regressed this year than last year maybe says a lot about the coaching staff of the Patriots. He also has
put Matt Patricia as your offensive coordinator. I don't know what you expected to happen.
But that's my point. That's why I'm not ready to say Mac Jones is a bad quarterback. Mac Jones is set up for failure right now.
I think he was. I said this when he was drafted. I've said this all year. I think he's an average at best quarterback. That's just what he is. He's a game manager, and you can win with that. But that's not a playoff kind of quarterback. Yeah, but I think in a better situation, he would be better, yes.
Yeah, so like to me, I think Mac Jones is an average or could be above average, but not that great of a quarterback. But you can't take a slightly above average quarterback and give him a defensive coordinator hold on, let me rephrase. 2 defensive coordinators. It's like Belichick is like 2 negatives make a positive. If I put 2 defensive coordinators together, they will make 1 great offensive coordinator. No, it doesn't.
Simple multiplication.
It's not. It's simple math. It's not simple multiplication. That's the thing. Because if you multiply 2 negatives, it's a positive. You add up 2 negatives, it's still a negative. He was multiplying.
Yeah, that's what
he's not. He's adding.
But yeah, I don't think the Patriots should be a playoff team. The Jets, I love the Jets roster. No one follows me on Twitter, so no one else has heard this. But I posted this on Twitter like a few weeks ago.
I'm gonna get a Twitter just so I can follow you.
Please do. I posted this on Twitter like a few weeks ago. The Jets roster is so good. I love the Jets, and I think that they're going to be a great team for a long time because they have so much young talent. The only thing they're missing is quarterback. And
Dude.
it reminds me of like the 2018 Bears where we had so much talent and everyone's like, oh, they could be good for a little while. But the only problem was our quarterback was Mitch Trubisky. And then like our fans had false hope, which is what they're doing with Zach Wilson and Mike White. Mike White's not going to win you Super Bowl either.
Cough, cough. Glimpse into what we're going to be talking about here in a second. You know who else was just a quarterback away? 2020 Bucks.
That's fair. Yeah. We'll get to that in a minute for a little bit of a spoiler there. But the Jets, Mike White's not going to win you a Super Bowl at all, or even come close to it. Probably won't even win you a playoff game. Zach Wilson's not going to win you a playoff game. Jets, please do something. Trade your entire future. I don't care. Go get a quarterback. I do it. I don't care how. Do it. The Jaguars, I hope, make it over the Titans because the Titans aren't going to make noise in the playoffs either. The Raiders, I would love to see because I love Derek Carr and I want to see him and Devontae Adams in a playoff run. But I did gain more confident in Josh McDaniels. I feel like he's done a good job kind of turning it around towards the end of the season, but too slow of a start. So I think he has saved his job for the very least. The Browns, I hope, never make the playoffs in the rest of their existence ever again because Deshaun Watson's a terrible human being and just for moral reasons, I hate your franchise. The Steelers, Mitch or Pickett, they're not going to make it, and the Colts need way too much to happen for you to be a playoff team, so that's not going to happen either.
Colts are not getting in. I'm sorry. There's just like
if they would have beat the Vikings,
I shouldn't even say in the hunt. It should more say in the hopes. Just
if they would have beat the Vikings, I would have been like, yeah, it's still a long shot.
How did you lose that game?
I don't know.
You could literally. I'm like trying to do the math on this, and I'm just like, you could have ran the ball and make sure at least 40 seconds go off the clock each time, and then just punt the ball.
Yeah,
and take your chances. You probably would have won that game.
Yeah. Just ran out as much clock as possible.
You probably could have ran the ball 3 times, take 160 seconds off the clock on each drive, punt the ball as far as you can, take your chances with your defense, and you may have had a better chance of winning that game.
Oh, they definitely would have. That was the most atrocious thing I've ever seen. I'm happy I'm not a Colts fan. I'll leave it at that. But also, I want to go back to one thing. Excuse me. So we said all but like one team currently in the playoffs has like an elite or borderline elite quarterback in the AFC. Can we go back to the NFC real quick? Because I don't know if there's... So Eagles, Hurts, borderline elite guy. Vikings, Kirk Cousins is like... he's not elite or close to elite.
Before you say he's not elite,
Kirk Cousins is not
elite. He holds the record for the biggest comeback in the NFL.
He's not elite. Please don't do this. We're not doing this. Kirk Cousins is not elite. Listen, I hate being like showing that I'm a Bears fan sometimes because I feel like people are like, oh, well, he's just discrediting him because he's a Vikings player. No, Justin Jefferson's the best receiver in football. Dalvin Cook's a top 5 running back. Their offensive line isn't bad. TJ Hawkinson's a top 4 tight end. They have
Who's the Vikings roster. Backup?
I don't even know who it is at this point.
Okay, if Kirk Cousins goes out, how much less of a shot does Vikings have?
Oh, they definitely have less of a shot. I'm not saying Kirk Cousins is a bad quarterback. He's just not close to elite. I would say he's in that like top 15 to 12 quarterback range. Like he's not bad. He's above average. And I would say he's a good quarterback, but he's not elite. He's not great.
Okay, this NFC picture is literally making the opposite argument. Commanders does not have a good quarterback. Giants does not have a good quarterback. Cooper Rush was winning games without Dak Prescott.
I think out of all of these quarterbacks currently on, I think Hurts is the best by far. Dak's not a bad guy. I think Dak's better than Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
I think it's
Dak
debatable.
Is starting to turn into Kirk Cousins for me.
He kind of is, honestly. But I would take Dak over Kirk. But the only like close to elite guy on this entire thing, I'm not trying to like
Rodgers?
make you mad with the Brady thing. I don't think Brady's been playing at an elite level this year, so I would still consider him like as an elite guy because he's done that for so long. And playoff Brady's a different monster. But the only guy currently like that's close to an elite level is Jalen Hurts. But the difference is the AFC, the reason they have so many is because all of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL are in the AFC.
Yeah.
The NFC is a bunch of trash. And it's just who's the shiniest trash.
You have a 6-8 team at the 4th seed.
Your 7th seed is technically like a game above. half a game above 500.
Yeah.
It's bad. They're
Yeah.
bad. Everyone here is bad.
All right, we got 20 minutes to run through. Well, two more. So first one's gonna be pretty quick, I think. Hey, or we got three more things. I'm sorry. So are the Bengals being overlooked? What do you think? I think this is gonna be pretty quick, man.
Yeah, I think I would say yes, even by me. At this point, I still won't even admit how good the Bengals are. I'm sleeping on them currently, and they've been playing super well.
You're sleeping on them currently while admitting that they are better than you're saying.
Yes, because like
you're acknowledging you should wake up.
I'm acknowledging they've been playing so well, but I still don't want to put them like above the Chiefs or the Bills or anything like that. And they probably should be. They have been on such a hot streak.
Chiefs.
Yeah.
Now they've beaten the Chiefs 3 times in a row in one, like 365 days span.
Well, also as the pictures, you're looking at, Logan Wilson, he's one of the most underrated defensive players in the entire league. And then future Chicago Bear T. Higgins is one of the best number 2 wide receivers in football. I've also done 2 shout outs to future Chicago Bears, by the way.
Cool.
I'm excited for the offseason. But T. Higgins is so good, and that's for a number 2 option. That's insane. But they have so many pieces on that offense, and that defense, whenever they're I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. When they're on, and they
start clicking.
Yeah, when they start clicking,
rhythm,
they can shut down like almost any offense in the league. Well, shut down, but
no, they're good.
Bengals, they're good.
I will admit that when we made our playoffs picture and Super Bowl picture, I didn't even have the Bengals making the playoffs. I was like, last year they shouldn't have made it. There were too many injuries in their division. That's how they got in. They barely got in. Titans should have beat them. It's because Ryan Tannehill couldn't even get them to a freaking field goal range without throwing an interception. So there's a lot of factors for me to say, yeah, the Bengals aren't that good. And beginning of the year, it looked that way. Now it's looking very different. They've now won 7 in a row. Is it 7 or 6? One of those in a row. It doesn't matter. They're still winning. They beat the Chiefs, and they're going to play the Bills. If they beat the Bills, this team is scary. It could be scary.
Which also, one thing I want to point out, I know you didn't have them in the playoffs. I'm pretty sure I didn't have them in the playoffs either. Because I had the Ravens winning the division, and when we were looking at the AFC, I know I had the Colts winning the division over the Titans. And then I think the only difference was I didn't have the Bengals in it. And I had the Raiders in the playoffs.
But the everyone just in general for the AFC is always Chiefs or Bills at this point, and it's just like, bro,
the Bengals could make it back.
The Bengals could make it back to the Super Bowl.
Okay, this is going to be a kind of a hot take to say, and you're probably going to disagree with me. Burrow reminds me of like a playoff Brady kind of guy. Like,
I'm not going to disagree with you on that.
He took it. Well, I know you don't like when people compare anyone to Brady for anything.
I don't.
Burrow in the playoffs, he just like has that kind of like, I hate using this word. He has that like swagger to him in the playoffs where he just like plays at another level, and it's insane. He's a big reason they made the Super Bowl last year.
It's not even playoffs. Even last week, if you just look at that game where they were down 17 points, he isn't freaking out.
He's so good.
The biggest thing with Brady was in the playoffs, you never see a single quarterback, and like in general, in my opinion, that stays as calm as Brady does when they're down. And yeah, Burrow is down multiple scores in a game, and he's just like, cool. It's not nonchalant about it. He's just like, I gotta stay calm here. That's my job.
I don't think any quarterback's gonna win, 7 Super Bowls again. I just don't think it's gonna happen. But I think Burrow, I would be happy to be a Bengals fan because I think Burrow's going to win them at least multiple Super Bowls. Like
he'll win one at least.
He gives that you get that vibe from him like immediately. Like he is just a winner. That's just what he is.
Yeah,
they're definitely being slept on. And if we're going to have to redo our playoff picks because we're all very wrong.
Oh well, once probably week 18, we're gonna redraw all our playoffs and then compare.
I think there is a heavy debate that one of us should pick the Bengals to win it all.
Oh, we'll talk about that. I'm still not gonna go off of my boy. So, all right. So
you should do like a Brady one and then a real one, and then
whoa.
I'm kidding.
You're telling me to repeat myself? Come on, man. All right. Let's see. Baker or Stafford for LA? I'm gonna let you take this first because you like Baker, I don't.
I look what? Oh, I love Baker. I misheard you. listen, I was very excited to talk about this one. I like Matthew Stafford as a quarterback. Jose, who had very bad predictions, his Super Bowl pick, Denver Broncos. His MVP pick was Matthew Stafford, if you don't remember.
Mine was Mahomes.
Mine was Josh Allen, but yours is definitely more likely. I think at this point it probably is going to be Jalen Hurts, but Mahomes has a very, very good shot.
If Jalen Hurts misses this game and Mahomes play good, done.
Very likely, yes. But we'll go back to the Rams to try to not go over the
Fair
time.
enough. Yeah, we don't have a lot of time.
Matthew Stafford, I think, was so good last year, and obviously was a very big reason they won the Super Bowl. But we talked about this at the beginning of the season. He had that like elbow surgery injury thing where he had kind of like arthritis in his elbow. I think that was a big reason why, tendonitis, sorry. That was a big reason why he was so bad this year. And I don't think it's going to necessarily just like heal up. I don't know how it works. I'm not a doctor. Says the guy who's going to be a physical therapist. I don't know how it works. I don't know if he'll be back from it. And I haven't done the math on here to see how long it's going to last or how much, like how the salary will work if they can even move Matthew Stafford's contract. But if you could ignore money for right now, I think if you can move Matthew Stafford, I'm not even saying stick with Baker, but if you can move Matthew Stafford, I think you need to do that. I know that's very hard to accept because he just won you a Super Bowl, but he wasn't just bad this year. He was like awful at every game he played. There was not like a game where you're like, oh, Matthew Stafford's a good quarterback. Every game you're like, they're winning despite Matthew Stafford. Baker, he's only played 2 games. Against the Packers, he wasn't great. Against the Raiders, he wasn't good until like the last 2 minutes. So I don't know if Baker is the answer either. I do really like Baker. I think Baker is more so a career backup. Stafford, I think, even though he's not super old with the whole elbow thing, probably should retire or you trade him something. And I think that they definitely need a new quarterback in LA. You look like you have a thought.
Okay. You got to give up on Baker, man.
I said backup. I didn't say
Baker that. And I'm glad you said that. Baker Mayfield is not a starting quarterback. Matthew Stafford has played bad this particular year while he's had some issues going on. That being said, if Matthew Stafford can come back healthy next year with a healthy Cooper Kupp, I would rather take Stafford over Baker. Here's the thing. Stafford's got 2 more years left on his contract. He signed a 4-year deal with the Rams. He's already obviously played last year. This year's done. He's got 2 more years left. My suggestion is if Stafford is healthy, then keep Stafford. Keep Baker as a backup. I think Baker is a good backup. But if you're saying, hey, we're going to throw all out the window, get rid of Stafford, keep Baker as our starting quarterback going into next year, the Rams are done. I'm sorry.
I think they're honestly done even with Stafford. This team is older. They don't really have draft picks to rebuild a younger roster. I love Cooper Kupp. Aaron Donald's probably the best defensive player ever, but I think the Rams are done. Their Super Bowl window closed a lot faster than I thought it would, but I think it's closed.
Well, we have less than 10 minutes, so we're gonna jump into our final subject. Baker should be just let go. All right, moving on. Look at all these jerseys. Which one does he look the best in?
I'm gonna just mention I did not credit these because I didn't find credit. They were random Twitter pictures. But credit to whoever made these. I did not make them, but I'm just throwing that out there.
He looks sadder in the Jets jersey.
I'd be sad if I was.
He looks lost in the 49ers jersey. He looks pretty fired up in the Raiders jersey. I think we know the answer.
If you're going off just pictures, I don't know. I hope it's not the Raiders because I like Derek Carr once again.
As far as what's best for Brady, we're talking about next year, assuming that Brady does not retire and go back to the Buccaneers. Or maybe he goes back to the Buccaneers. What we think, which team, what we think Brady should do. Are these your picks? This is why
this was just no. I honestly just looked up Tom Brady Photoshop jerseys and picked like the nice ones I could find.
Cool. Well, what do you got in mind there?
Okay, You're gonna hate me for saying this because
No,
you kind of
no.
had pointed this out, and I was like, I don't think I agree with that. But I changed my mind. Okay, so there's a team who traded, quite a bit to move up in the draft and take a quarterback third overall, who didn't really play much his rookie year because he was developing. He was a very raw prospect. He goes into the second season as the starter, and in very beginning of week 2, hurts his ankle. Uh, and you'd be like, "Oh, don't
I
give
already
up
know
on
you're talking about the
I know.
49ers. Just
Yes,
get
I
to
know. Give me up. Shut up.
the We got 10 minutes.
You don't want to give up on your young quarterback, yes, but if you have the chance to add Brady to that roster and maybe win a Super Bowl, you can't say no to that. And so I would go with the 49ers. I think
Yeah.
they could make the money work somehow.
So look, I think the answer is pretty straightforward. Here's the thing. First of all, I don't think Brady should go back to the Buccaneers. So now there's 31 other teams left. Done. I'm kidding. It's not done. But okay, there's obviously 31 other teams left who can technically use a quarterback. And here's the thing: as far as Brady goes, he's got, I think, even if he continues playing, what do you think? 2 more years?
I think at max 2 more years.
Okay, 2 more
I'd say a
years.
year.
He needs a win now team. The Buccaneers this year is not ready to win. Like, if he walks away from the Bucs right this second, every single human being is writing him off. The only reason Bucs aren't written off right now is because of Brady. So he needs a win now team. I get it. You've already written him off either way. Blah blah blah. I get it.
I'm also saying if he walks away, their quarterback's Kyle Trask. Give him Brock Purdy and see what happens.
Fair enough. So yeah, 49ers are an option because they are stacked on defense. They have amazing schemes when it comes to the offense. I don't know if Brady at this point will go back to the 49ers because he's tried to allegedly twice and they said no both times. So there's a chance that that's not going to happen. But here's some fun ones. Let's see here. Hey, you know which team looks pretty good? The Giants look pretty good. They just got to fix up the offensive line issue. Here's the number one thing to take away. And here's another team. The Jets look really good for Brady.
I would take the Jets over the Giants. The Giants don't have any wide receivers.
The Jets are the Jets should be at the top of his list because the Jets are a win now team. It's literally only a quarterback away. And here's the thing: you don't need to give up an arm and a leg to get Brady. Tom Brady's going to be a free agent. You don't need to trade. You don't need to pay him top dollar. So you don't need to give up an arm and a leg to get Brady. You have all the pieces there. Jets are a great fit. Even without Sean Payton, Miami could be a really good fit. Tell Tua to sit behind Brady and learn for a bit. You got Tyreek and Waddle over there. That's going to be fun to watch.
I don't see Miami because I think the Dolphins are sold on Tua.
Well, that sucks.
I think Tua's not bad.
Raiders go back to his old offensive coordinator, Josh McDaniels. But again, I think as of right now, Jets looks the best. Here's a very interesting one. The Pittsburgh Steelers.
I don't like the Steelers. I don't know.
Why?
I think they're off. I feel like they don't. Well, they're not good. They're not bad enough to rebuild, like to have picks to like rebuild the offensive line this offseason. They have good receivers. They have a good running back. Their defense is always good because Tomlin's a great coach, but they don't have an offensive line at all.
Well, I got 2 more. I got the Titans and the Colts. The Colts is literally like the Florida of old people. Like that's where the QBs go to retire. Right?
Jim Irsay loves his old dudes.
and then there's the Titans because again, like you said, the Titans, they're a quarterback away. Well, they might not be a year from now, so maybe that's not the greatest fit. The Jets, I thought of the Jets 2 days ago, and they're like the best fit that keeps coming to my mind, man. It won't leave.
Listen,
if you get to play Bill Belichick twice,
if you ignore salary cap, the Saints I don't think is a bad fit either.
I brought up the Saints.
I like their receiving core if they stay healthy. Michael Thomas is like one of the better receivers in football when he's healthy. He just hasn't really played in the last 2 years. You know, my boy Chris Olave is going to be a legend. And then Jarvis Landry is a great number 3 option. They don't really have a great tight end. Their offensive line has
Danny Amendola is going to get in shape and come back and play with Brady anyway. So
their offensive line has pieces. They have Alvin Kamara at running back. Their defense is so well coached that they even this year with an awful offense, they've been solid.
Yeah.
You know what? You could put Taysom Hill at tight end. I know
Brady
you
will
love Taysom
probably
Hill.
use him.
You love Taysom Hill. You put him at tight end.
I
know
don't love Taysom Hill.
the only thing with the Saints, why I would say no, is I don't know how if they can make the salary work, because the Saints are like, I had said, I don't know how salary works.
It's
It doesn't
like
make
the
sense.
biggest BS on the planet. It's like, oh, they are $1,400 million under salary cap, and then like 2 weeks later, it's like, oh, they just signed a $300 million contract for this person. Like,
Yeah, I don't know how salary works. So you know what? We're gonna have to screw salary. I think the Saints is a good fit.
yeah.
Sean Payton could come back, and they wouldn't have to.
I just don't.
trade
Do you think he's gonna come back and demote Dennis Allen though?
I don't know. I think Dennis Allen might be like, okay, well, we can win a Super Bowl with Brady. I'll take a step back for a year.
Yeah, that's probably fair. But also, I don't know. They got into that spat, Dennis Allen and Brady, that one time. I don't know if they like each other very much. Lattimore might not really like Brady that much. There might be a lot of hatred for Brady on that team, man.
I don't know if Brady would do the Raiders either, because I don't know if you saw the thing with like the not like a talk show. It was one of those like athlete talking circle show things. I don't remember what it was, but there was they were talking about it on the show. There was a team that like literally like Brady was like about to sign a contract with, like it was all done. And
you're
then
gonna go with that
like,
mother effer.
Yeah, that was the Raiders.
Yeah, that was Derek Carr. But did you also know that? So apparently everything was a go until Gruden said no.
Was it Gruden?
Yeah, apparently John Gruden's the one that said no.
Oh.
So if that's the case, and here's the thing, I think you're the one that pointed it out. Derek Carr is only a $5 million cap hit next year.
I did point that out, yes.
And they can still trade him and get something for him.
That is fair. They trade Derek Carr to the Jets, they get Tom Brady, and then the Buccaneers trade for Zach Wilson.
Oh God. Zach Wilson is probably going to be released at the end of the year, man.
Okay, so since we're running out of time, I will label it best fit for Brady, I think, to like win a Super Bowl right now. Jets. 49ers. I would say 49ers.
Okay, that's fair. I'll give you that.
The Jets aren't a bad choice, don't get me wrong. I'd say 49ers. The team I would like him to go to would probably be, I would probably like the Jets, because I like their team a lot. He'd also get to play the Patriots twice a year.
Yep.
Which I would love to watch that matchup twice a year against Belichick. The one I would like the least would be the Raiders, just because I want to see Derek Carr be a career Raider. And also, my stepdad is a Raiders fan, and he has said that if Brady comes to the Raiders, he won't be a fan anymore.
Oh God,
he despises Tom Brady. We only have like 2 minutes if you want to have
wrap it up.
Thoughts. Yeah,
cool. I don't really have many final thoughts. It's good to be back, and we will hopefully see everybody back again soon. And
hopefully we get a little more.
Bucs are still in it. You heard it here first. Tom Brady and the Buccaneers will be a different team in the playoffs.
That's fair. Hopefully we'll be a little bit better on posting weekly. We kind of haven't been here for a while. Yeah. There was some sickness, people busy with work and whatnot. It's just been a little rough, but we'll be back and we'll start posting. Hopefully back to like twice a week is my hope.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining, everybody.
And have a Merry Christmas.
Check us out again. CoolSportsGuy.com, our Instagram, our Twitter, our Facebook. And yes, have a very happy holiday, Hanukkah, Christmas, whatever you celebrate. Until next time.